It's like you're almost like two people at once, and so you're constantly fighting each other. Some of the traditional productivity advice doesn't always apply to ADHD brains. Eat the frog is actually a bad thing because it's like you need to start with something nice. And then the other one that I learned is the Pomodoro method is actually not great for ADHD because it's very hard to get into hyperfocus. So once you're in it, you might as well just stay and not leave. I think everyone needs to go on that self-discovery journey and really accept it internally, and then also create systems that work for you. And I think that was the thing for me, is I didn't realize I had to kind of adapt my life.
Today's guest is Jenna Redfield, founder of Red Thread Studio and host of the Optimization Toolbox podcast. She helps ADHD entrepreneurs turn distraction into direction through storytelling, systems, and strategy. Jenna's worked with hundreds of business owners to build clarity and confidence without the burnout. Let's hear how she does it. Hey, it's Steve. Real quick before we begin, the single biggest thing I've learned about succeeding as an ADHD entrepreneur is that everything boils down to mastering your weeks. So if ADHD is making business harder than it needs to be, I've got something that can help. Grab my free weekly ADHD dashboard. It's a free, simple, but powerful tool to help you stay focused, organized, and in control of your week. The link is in the description below. Hello and welcome. I am Steve August. Welcome back to another episode of ADHD Entrepreneur Accelerator. And I am super excited today because I have someone really awesome that I'm talking to as our guest. And her name is Jenna Redfield. And Jenna is a marketing consultant, content creator, and Notion expert who helps entrepreneurs, especially those with ADHD, organize their digital worlds so they can show up confidently and consistently online. As the founder of Red Thread Studio and the host of the Optimization Toolbox podcast, Jenna blends 19 years of video production experience with a passion for clarity, storytelling, and systems that actually work. She's built her career helping hundreds of small business owners craft memorable messages, streamline their content creation, and harness tools like Notion, AI, and digital organization to grow their visibility. Known for her frameworks like the repeat method, Jenna has spoken at events like the Twin Cities Startup Week, been featured on numerous podcasts, and loves sharing practical, actionable strategies that make marketing feel simple and, dare I say, even fun. Welcome to the podcast, Jenna. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
So where in the world are you today?
Right now I'm in Bloomington, Minnesota, which is a suburb of Minneapolis. I was just doing a video photo shoot, and I've been in the Twin Cities my entire life, and I love living here.
Oh, that's amazing. I've been through Minnesota and into the Twin Cities and love the Walker Art Museum, and I just couldn't deal with the winters, I don't think. Fortunately,
we have a lot of indoor places people can go, but yeah, I think that's what keeps a lot of people from living here is the winters, for sure.
Yeah, sure. And I've seen you doing a lot of local stuff in video. So tell us, who do you help right now? How do you help them? And what kind of things are you up to?
Yeah, so I have been doing video for a really long time. Like you said, like 19 years. I started when I was 15 years old, and I started editing videos on YouTube right when YouTube first came out. I was a teenager in my bedroom, bored, trying to figure out, what to do with my time. And I realized I loved it. So I went to film school, have a background in that. And then over the past couple of years, what I realized is I love working with small businesses. So one of the things I've learned is that short form video, which became very popular during the pandemic with TikTok and Reels, is what a lot of people need help with because that's what people are watching. So I decided to create a business where I do a lot of interview style videos with business owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs, anyone that needs a video of themselves doing some talking, and I do that all in one day. So it's called a VIP video day. I meet with people in person. We film about 3 hours of content, and then I edit for 4 hours, and then they get the videos by the end of the day. So that's kind of my unique sauce is I have a really, really high, fast turnaround on content, and it's all stuff that you can use over the course of many months.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and what I love about that too is just the localness of it. Like for me, it's rare that I have a local client just because of the distributed, remote world we live in. So to do things like in your community and locally, that sounds really great.
I love my local community, and I actually ran a business for 8 years called Twin Cities Collective, and it was a group for entrepreneurs and founders in the Twin Cities, and we hosted tons of networking events. So I'm very well known in my specific city for that, and so I was able to get a lot of clients from building a community. I also still have a newsletter for that where I send out events that happen so it's twice a month. So for me, like going to networking events is how I get my clients. I don't do as much marketing for myself besides LinkedIn online. I just literally one-to-one, I go in and talk to people, and that's how I get a majority of my clients.
Yeah, I think that's, one of the things I advise a lot of the folks in the accelerator that I have is sometimes they'll be in an early stage. And what I say is conversations are the currency. Right.
Uh-huh.
Because everybody wants to leap ahead to scaling and creating funnels and doing all these things, but that are really reliant on the understanding of your ideal customer, knowing who they are, what they need, what they're about, where their pain points are, where they feel insecure, and where you can help them. And that's the basis for everything. And having conversations and in-person conversations are often the most powerful way to make that happen.
Yes, for sure.
So you're also, besides the video thing, you're also like a Notion wizard and a productivity and automation wizard. So tell me more about that angle on what you do.
So I've always been interested in like organization. Even with ADHD, as a child, I loved organizing books or just cleaning. Like I love the idea of having a system in some way because I think my brain wasn't good at that. So I had to always build something for myself. And during the pandemic, I really decided to switch and refocus on my YouTube channel. And that's when I was around the same time I discovered Notion. It was about 2021. I had been using other tools. I had used Trello, I had used Airtable, I had used ClickUp. None of them really fit my brain. And the moment that I discovered Notion and saw how much potential it had for me, I was in immediately. And so I went down that rabbit hole really hard and spent many months learning it and figuring it out. And then I started teaching it on YouTube. And I started a course. I have templates. Most people know me from my channel just because that's where a lot of people see me the most. And then about 2-3 years ago, I became a Notion ambassador. So I had to apply for that. And I think there's a couple hundred of us worldwide. I'm very excited to announce that I'm going to be at the conference in San Francisco in September. So it'll be my first time meeting people in real life that are part of the Notion world. So I love Notion. I'm a big fangirl of that.
Yeah. As we were talking about before we jumped on, I use Notion for a lot of years. And lately I've been really infatuated with X-Tiles as just due to its kind of like visual layout. But I think one of the things that I always tell people about tools is like the system that works is the system that works for you.
Yes. I never tell someone they have to use Notion. In fact, a lot of people find Notion overwhelming.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, maybe you need something simpler. But for me, what I like about Notion is it can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. I think the bigger issue is a lot of people don't know how to build a system for themselves. So that's actually the core element is what do you need it for?
Yeah.
You might not even need, you might not need all the tools, but for me, that has been a self-discovery process over the last couple of years is what do I actually need it for? And until you do that, no system's going to work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I found as well. And, it's funny because whether it was X-Tiles or Notion, I got really deep into Notion and thinking about how you connect all these things and you leverage all the features. When I started using X-Tiles, I was kind of the opposite. I was like, I want to use as little as that because I almost wanted to underutilize it because I knew it was like a rabbit hole and I just needed to do it just this much.
Yep.
Because that's what I knew would get me to the work that I needed to do. So it's really fascinating our relationship with these tools, because they, as you explained, like they can really help us externalize the things that we need externalized, and especially for us ADHD folks, like having an external brain is really amazing. But it can become its own distraction if we're not careful.
Yes, it can. And that's something that I try to warn people. One of the things I try to make people do is it doesn't need to be aesthetic. Like I know some people really focus on the aesthetics. It has to be pretty, but that's what is the time suck. So for me, mine are pretty basic. It's a lot of databases. It's not super pretty, but that's okay. It actually keeps me more on task than being distracted by visual.
Yeah, awesome. And So when you say, having a system, what are your principles for like helping somebody build a system or the systems that you've built for yourself?
Well, mostly what I teach is my system. So
Hmm.
they can take it with what they do. And so I created something called the 13 pillar system about 3, 4 years ago. It was an offshoot of August Bradley's system. So I kind of Frankensteined it myself. And then I've also created some other systems as well. Like I love acronyms and
Hmm.
frameworks. So creating things for yourself that work. And so then I just teach them. And if people want to use mine. Otherwise, maybe it'll help them kind of trigger a thing. For example, I have a friend who watched my 13 pillar system and she sort of Frankenstein that herself for herself. So for me, what I love seeing is other people's systems and then figuring out a way that I can tweak them for myself. And I think everyone should do that and not just blindly follow somebody else's systems. I love Tiago Forte and his building a second brain, but it's not a system for me. I love that he built that for himself, but I needed something different. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I love some of the elements of his system, but I'm not actually going to completely use it just like he does because again I hate to say it, but a lot of them are not made for women. A lot of them don't take into, for example, we run on an infradian cycle versus a circadian cycle, and so like our energy levels are going to be different at different times of the month, and so unfortunately I can't have a straight up system like that. I have to factor that in. So there's certain things where I come at it from a different angle when it comes to your productivity systems.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think, whether it's second brain, para,
Mm-hmm.
GTD, whatever the
Yep.
system is, I also think ADHD brains, you give them a system, they will
Yes.
rebel against it. Like you have to
True.
almost find a way to make it your
Mm-hmm.
own, or else you'll almost resist adopting it.
Yes. Well, I've actually had a couple people on my podcast talk about the differences. One of them is like eat the frog is actually a bad thing because it's like you need to start with something nice. And then the other one that I learned is the Pomodoro method is actually not great for ADHD because it's very hard to get into hyperfocus. So once you're in it, you might as well just stay and not leave
Mm,
versus every 30 minutes like getting out of hyperfocus. It's actually more like detrimental. So some of the traditional productivity advice doesn't always apply to ADHD brains.
yeah, totally agree with eat the frog.
Mm-hmm.
That ADHD brains need a kind of a shorter way in, or
Yes.
a few
Mm-hmm.
quick nibbles
Yes.
of something
Exactly.
that feels a little satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
With Pomodoro, I think also because I host these daily co-working sessions as part of the
Mm-hmm.
accelerator, and part of all my programs have co-working because that's the magic
Yep.
bullet to
Yep.
like
Body doubling.
body
Mm-hmm.
doubling, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
to like to get out of procrastination and distraction. So we do a 25-minute cycle, but the check-ins are pretty light. But what I find is that sometimes people need that check-in pattern interrupt because they've
Mm.
gotten off track and they're like, okay, I'm going to bring myself
Mm.
back. So
Yeah.
it's
It's
kind of
very dependent on it. Yeah.
yeah, it's sort of a balance. But again, it's a perfect example of adapting a certain system. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
when we're doing a kind of Pomodoro sprint, and I'll like picking up that everybody's fried, it's end of the week and their brains are not,
Mm-hmm.
there's not a lot of executive function
Mm-hmm.
going around. Then we'll shorten the sprints in order to like,
Mm-hmm.
just one, create some novelty, and two, just, meet our brains where we're at.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So, switching gears a little bit, we got together originally on LinkedIn and connected, and, there was, we're both in this world of like being public about, we're ADHD entrepreneurs, right? We have
Uh-huh.
ADHD, and I discovered it a little later in life at age 54. But tell me more about your journey with ADHD, and when did it
Yeah.
become part of your
Mm-hmm.
awareness, and how did it unfold for
Mm-hmm.
you?
Yeah, it was in 2020. It was during the pandemic, like I think a lot of people. I was for the first time on TikTok actually, and that's where I started seeing a lot more content around it. And then I started thinking, wait, is that what I have? Like, is that it was a big aha moment. And so I started actually asking friends and family. I was like, I think I have ADHD, and they're like, oh yeah, I could see that. So that was the first time where I was kind of like, oh, people kind of could see that in me. And so I really did a lot of research. And then later on found out I was also autistic. So that's where I realized where a lot of the research side comes in for me and is the autism. So I kind of was just like, all right, immediately just realized that's what I had. And then I officially got diagnosed later. So with autism, went through a whole journey with that as well. So that was something that I have been for the last 5 years been learning a lot about. So first I spent a lot of time learning about ADHD and then learning about autism and learning that they can be the same or coexist with something called ADHD, which is autism ADHD. So that's what I have. So it's kind of hard because it's like you're almost like two people at once. You're very like the autism brain is very organized, and that's why I think I like really seek that organization. But then the ADHD side is the kind of chaotic, can't, changes your mind all the time, hard to prioritize, hard to time track, hyper focus. So it's like you have both. And so you're constantly fighting each other. And that's what I realized was my problem, because every time I talked about ADHD, I never felt like I fully fit the diagnosis in that sense, because I was like, I feel like I'm more organized than most ADHDers in that sense. And that's where I was like, but I know I still have it in my head, like you have this gut feeling. And so that's when I started researching the autism side, and it's been really, really validating to be officially diagnosed, for sure.
Yeah, it's such an unlock when you know how your brain really works, however it works, right?
Yes.
It's when it's a mystery and you don't realize why these things happen to you that it's like really challenging, because it's a sort of like, well, I'm supposed to be able to do these things. And then once you understand that your brain works a certain way, you can like, oh, okay, that's the way my brain works. We can work with that.
And that's what I think everyone needs to go on, that self-discovery journey, and really accept whether you want to label yourself or announce it to the world. You need to accept it internally, and then also create systems that work for you. And I think that was the thing for me, is I didn't realize I had to kind of adapt my life around this, and I have my whole life. For example, one of the things I do is I buy air tags and I put them on my keys because I lose my key. So it's like, so I'm actually like proactively knowing that my brain can't take on all the information, and so I actually do a lot of work to coact, or whatever the word is.
Yeah, and it's so important to look at it that way. Like when I'm doing one of my weekly OS cohorts. And one of the things we talk about is brain first mentality, right? Is not how productive can you be, but how do you best work with your brain? What does your brain need right now?
Yes.
Because ultimately that's going to make you more productive if you're working with it versus like trying to like, white knuckle it and things that you can get away with sometimes earlier in life when you might be younger and have more energy, but as life unfolds, then that system, if you're not working with your brain, it gets really challenging.
Yes, I agree.
So what's been working most for you right now as you're navigating ADHD and your business? Like what things are your, like, if somebody were to ask you, okay, Jenna, I'm an ADHD, I just got diagnosed ADHD, I'm an entrepreneur. What works for you?
Ooh, I think having set days for things is really important. So one of the things I do is I have my podcast and YouTube video come out every Tuesday. So then what I do is I make it on Monday. So I know Monday is a content day for me. So that's something that I know every single week. I don't allow anyone to book anything with me on Mondays. So for me, with my VIP days, I only do Tuesday, Thursdays, and then calls usually like Wednesday, Friday. So for me, I kind of batch the stuff I need to do on specific days. Otherwise, so that kind of mentally helps you know what mode you're in, because all of a sudden, if you're interrupted by a call on a day that you're making content, like it's just like your brain goes into different modes. And so I think for some people, they're just like, oh, Monday through Friday I have availability. I'm like, oh, you got to like really set up yourself for success by having specific times for certain tasks, because they are very different in your head. That's like probably the first thing I could think of. Yeah,
that's a great one. I think I do a similar thing. Mondays are my work on the business day, and that can so I actively try not to take meetings on those days unless it's, unless a vacation's coming up and I need to squeeze some things in. But, and that just knowing I have that space, and now that I, have the different systems to use it. And then Friday, I tend to stack admin stuff because I know my brain's going to be more tired on Friday than it is on Monday. So I want to use, that whole brain first. When am I best going to be able to tackle stuff? Well, the heavy kind of like big stuff, after a weekend, my brain's a little bit more rested. I can come in with a little bit more energy and I have a little higher level of executive function. And so Mondays are really good for that kind of thing. And then by Friday, I'm like maybe toasted. And so then I try to do the stack the lower exec function demanding things.
See, I have the opposite. I like to do admin stuff on Monday because I'm coming in from the weekend and I'm still trying to get back into business mode. And then Friday, I'm kind of like used to talking. So I do a lot of meetings on Friday. So it's more people because I really love people. So I'm like, I love ending the week with people. That's kind of how I do it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah. Thursdays are my big, like 4 hours of like, group coaching calls and co-working. So by Friday, and this is the thing, right? My brain's a little bit like used up, but that's the thing about this stuff, that brain first. And what you were talking about before is the system that works is a system that works for you. And so just even understanding how your brain best succeeds and then mapping your week to that is so important.
Yes. And we don't think about it. We don't really, until we do a self-audit, you don't really know. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's, it's one of the things that when I'm teaching folks that their eyes kind of go like, oh, wait, this makes so much sense. And even there's a sense of giving themselves permission to do that, permission to not be on all the time and reactive and all that.
Yeah. One of my other tips is using a calendar. I do think it is important to have your time kind of visually showing, but also making it really easy for people to book with you so that it's not a bunch of back and forth emails. I'm a big fan of scheduling tools where you can book a call or that sort of thing. And then it's on both ends so that you don't miss the call. Because I think that's something a lot of people always fear is, oh my gosh, I forgot I had that call with that person at that time, so having reminders, having things set up on your phone. I have it on my Notion calendar, so it shows me what my next meeting is at the top of my screen. And so that helps me not miss meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's, finding those techniques that, because with ADHD, you've got less working memory to keep things front and center. So out of sight, definitely out of mind. And so having those tools that you've developed to keep presenting them visually to you makes all the sense in the world. So where should people go if they want to learn more about you and find you? And
my main platform that I like to promote is my Substack. So that has my podcast, my YouTube channel, and any links that you need. So it's jennaredfield.substack.com. You can subscribe for free. I do have a paid version, which I'm going to be launching soon as well with more exclusives, but it's free to subscribe. I come out with new content every Tuesday. That's probably the main one that you can find to me.
Awesome. So everybody check out Jenna's Substack. It's pretty cool. You'll learn a lot. So it's been such a pleasure speaking with you and getting to know you over the last couple of months. So thanks for coming on the pod.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we'll see you around real soon. And that's it for this episode of ADHD Entrepreneur Accelerator. And we like to keep it short and sweet for our ADHD brains. And again, thank you, Jenna, for being a part of it. And if you like this episode, definitely give us a little bit of some love out there, a review, some stars, some likes, some follows, whatever it is on your platform. And that helps us spread the word and introduce people who have ADHD to folks like Jenna and just help more people. So thanks for being with us for this week's episode, and we'll see you again real soon.
Thanks.